Yeah, yeah. So, something that I really believe in is it's very dangerous to sort of try to predict the future, and I've lived my career trying not to do that. So I won't sort of opine on where I think like the asset class is going and all of that. But look, what I'd say about the industry, I sort of mentioned it already, but it's becoming more and more competitive. It's amazing how even today. I was just talking with somebody the other day where they're like, oh, our firm is now starting up an effort to go and write, smaller checks and get into growth equity. And so every area where there are returns, capital is sort of flocking to. And so it is getting harder and harder to do. I think if you sort of take a step back and you look at it as an asset class, the thing still keeps performing, and sort of the place that there's a chance to really generate alpha. So that's still true. I don't think that's not true. I think that's an exciting and good thing for us. But it's definitely a lot harder than it was when I started, and definitely be a lot harder 9 years from now than it is now. What I think has happened because of that, and the reason it still kind of is working, is I think in the old days, private equity was a lot more similar to kind of the public investing world. Like a company would come in, they'd pitch to you, you'd sort of evaluate it, you'd make the investment, and then you'd attend the board meetings and you'd reap your reward at the end. That has completely changed now, right? Now, what's happened is you have to have a lot of angles, a lot of very specific tactical operational things you're going to do. And that's not like your upside. Like you have to sort of have the conviction that you're going to do all those things, and that will generate you the kind of base case return. And so the biggest change in my mind is sort of what happens in between, investment and exit. And that's a lot more work. Now, if you like that sort of thing, it actually makes it a lot more satisfying. Like, I think private equity, I think we're becoming as much investor. If in the old days, you really were just a pure investor and sort of viewed financially, I think increasingly you're having to be both investor and sort of strategic consultant, right? And it depends on your perspective. It's actually something that I really like, because I actually, that part of it is what I find the most satisfying, sort of the post investment, rolling up the sleeves, figuring out how to partner with great management teams and get it done. And then the only thing I'd say is, because of this sort of competitive dynamic, this idea of, domain depth, and almost every private equity firm is becoming a little bit of a strategic. Like even at this point, the bankers know if it's this type of thing within healthcare IT, it's probably Warburg and these three other firms that are going to prevail and pay the highest price. If it's this kind of thing in healthcare IT, it's probably not Warburg and these three firms. So we may still get the book, but it's almost like you kind of know, everybody sort of knows what your different sub theses and themes are. And that, I think will continue to happen. What else? The only other thing I'd say is, and I just make this comment, and I think private equity is a great place to be, and I've loved being there. But, because of that, I think the balances of power shift, right? So I think, and maybe they'll shift again one day, but today, capital is king is not sort of as true as it was a long time ago. And so if you're thinking about, going the operational route or being at an opco of a private equity firm, there's a lot more scarcity there. And again, there's a lot more, there are still very good opportunities to create tremendous value there. And I just encourage people to kind of keep an open mind. It's not, I think young people always sort of think like the only place to go is private equity. And there's a lot of ways to sort of get parts of what private equity is. And if you ask me, like being a CEO of a private equity backed company, that's a perhaps more coveted is not the right word, but it's a rarer skill set today than it is to just sort of find good private equity partners, if you will. So I would just sort of think about that balance of power and the competitive nature. And if you've got a bone in you that says, I really want to think about being an operator, to think about that and to really be open-minded to it. This is a great career. It's a great place to be, very good for people that are intellectually curious and want to try different things, but it's not the sort of, same opportunity and that it was maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, or certainly before that as well.